Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about Dr. John Gottman's 4 Horsemen of the Relationship Apocalypse. Now, I know I've covered these 4 horsemen in other videos, so the ones on conflict and the most recent one on signs that your relationship is in trouble. But I really just wanted to give a longer explanation of each of the 4 horsemen. And really, if you notice one or all 4 are in your relationship, what are some things that you can do to kind of help you out of the 4 horsemen and help you communicate differently? The 4 horsemen are really just ways in which we communicate to one another. John Gottman, Dr. John Gottman, he's been studying couples since the late 70s, early 80s, and his research is still relevant today. And what he found is in these 4 ways in which we communicate can really create a lot of distance, disconnect, hurt feelings, and essentially or potentially divorce if we don't, or separation if we don't get out of the 4 horsemen. And so not only does he just identify what the 4 horsemen are, he also talks about ways, what are the antidotes? What can we do to get out of the 4 horsemen? So, he also divides couples into master level couples and disaster level couples. And he says that even in master level couples, there are times when we can see the 4 horsemen, but their way to get out of it, to get out of negativity or to get out of the conflict is different, and they don't stay stuck in the negativity. So the 4 horsemen, like I said, criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. And so, what are each of those, and then what are the antidotes? So, criticism. Criticism is when we say things like, you always, you never. We kind of put the person down. It's the name calling. It's the sarcasm that's in a very negative way where you are essentially putting the other person down or saying things that are really hurtful. And it can also be where you kind of are talking like you think you're better than your partner. And so if we notice that we're in this relationship and we're using a lot of criticism, the antidote is called a gentle startup or a softened startup. Gentle startup or softened startup is, I feel about what, this is what I need, or this is what I would appreciate. And so in the heat of the moment, sometimes you can't remember that whole formula. So what I would at least want you to remember is I need or I would appreciate. It's a way, again, instead of staying stuck in criticism, which can only build on conflict, and a lot of times if we start out critical, then we go into the attack, blame, criticize, defend mode where we're just in this huge fight. And if we can approach it with a gentle startup as opposed to a harsh startup, we typically won't get into a heated conflict or a volatile conflict. So again, a gentle startup or a softened startup is I feel about what, this is what I need, or this is what I would appreciate. And again, what I tell couples is sometimes just saying I need or I would appreciate. So for example, I need a timeout. I need to take a break. I need us to find compromise or resolution, or I'd really appreciate starting over. Or I'm feeling attacked, can we please start over? Saying things like that does help you get out of the criticism, and again, the attack, blame, criticize, defend. So that's step 1, criticism. And again, the antidote, softened startup or gentle startup. And Gottman also says 94% of the time how we start a conversation is how it's going to go within the first 3 minutes. So if we can start it in a more gentle way or a softer way, it goes that way. But if we start with a harsh criticism or startup, then we are doing this very quickly. So I feel about what, this is what I need, or this is what I would appreciate. So the second horseman is called defensiveness, and that's pretty self-explanatory. When we're in a constant state where we're defending ourselves or our actions or what we said, or it's placing blame, you, or when we're quick to jump to defense, of if our partner says something and we kind of respond back or react back with defensiveness. Or, well, you always do this too, or, defensiveness and criticism right there. So, if you find that you're in a constant state of defensiveness, it is time to kind of maybe write out what's going on for you or what you need, just as a way for you to kind of look at it first before you present it to your partner. And the antidote to defensiveness is accepting responsibility for your part in it. So if your partner comes to you, even if they come to attack, you know, you can say, I'm feeling attacked, can we take a break? And then the other part is you own your part in it. You take responsibility for your role you played in the incident or conflict, or, you know, at the time you can say, well, I'm feeling defensive, I need to take a break. Again, it's a way to minimize heated conflict, and it's a way to communicate in a better way. So the antidote to defensiveness is accepting responsibility for your part in the incident or conflict. And the third horseman is called contempt. And according to Dr. Gottman, contempt is the #1 predictor of divorce or separation. So if you notice that this is in your relationship right now, first take a deep breath. And it doesn't mean that you're headed to, you know, the divorce attorney or a separation if you do something about it. If you stay in a relationship that's contemptuous, then, you know, that is potential for separation or divorce. But what is contempt? Contempt is when you have disgust or you think you're better than. And so what you want to do, if you notice that you're in this place of contempt, there's 2 antidotes. You have to create a culture of appreciation. So finding things that you appreciate about your partner or your spouse is really important. And Gottman has a saying, catch your partner doing something right. It shifts the negative outlook of everything that your partner is doing that really pisses you off. It shifts it to, you know, what's my partner doing right? And it creates space for positivity, or at least, you know, seeing the positive in your relationship, as opposed to just staying caught in the negative, which only fuels resentment and your contempt. So, you know, the second antidote is being able to describe how you feel and not make assumptions about what your partner's going to do or how your partner feels. I get when we are really upset or when we're in a heated conflict, we start to create stories or to start to make assumptions. You know, like, he's always doing this, or, you know, if I do this, they're going to do that. And we've already created a story and we've created an outcome before it even happens, which only fuels contempt or resentment. And there is a saying or a quote, I'm sure you've heard, you know, the roots of resentment are expectations. So we start with expectations that go to resentment that eventually go to contempt. And, you know, if we stay caught up in all of those things, it really just does create a lot of disconnect. And if we don't do anything about it, eventually it could break up the relationship. And so it's just being mindful of, you know, how am I feeling? What's going on? Am I just staying in this place of pointing out everything negative that my partner's doing? And if I could just, you know, that Gottman saying, catch your partner doing something right, talk about how I'm feeling, creating a culture of appreciation, you know, those are the things that really help you get out of contempt. So again, the 2 antidotes to contempt are creating a culture of appreciation and being able to describe your own feelings and not make an assumption about how your partner's feeling or what they're going to do. All right. And then the last antidote is called stonewalling. Stonewalling is when we become so flooded with emotions that we quickly shut down and we go into fight or flight. And once we're in fight or flight, according to Dr. Gottman, our heart rate's beating 100 beats a minute or more. We lose peripheral vision, so we only have tunnel vision, and we lose the ability to empathize or compromise. We're not listening. We're not here. We're just in this, like, if we're fighters, we're just in this impulsive defend. And if we fight, then we're out of the conversation. And, you know, if we're stonewalled, we are not able to have a good conversation about what's happening in the relationship, because we're either in that state of impulsively fighting or we're totally disconnected. And so it's important, like, if you start to feel yourself flooding, that you take a break. And really that's the antidote to stonewalling. It is, you've got to physiologically self-soothe. You've got to get your heart rate to come back down in order to talk to your partner about what's going on. So what I tell couples all the time is it's okay to develop a plan to take a break for when you're flooded or if the argument's getting too heated. And don't take advantage of that plan. It's okay to say, I'm feeling flooded, so you're taking responsibility. I need a break, and I will come back to you in 30 minutes, in an hour, in 2 hours. So it's not just, you're not just saying to your partner, I'm leaving, I need a break, and then your partner reacts with, you're abandoning me, and now you're in this whole other fight. It's, I need a break, and I will be back. And so, you know, it's making a commitment to one another that if one of you says, I'm feeling flooded or I need a break, that the commitment is that, you know, we're coming back to the table in the set amount of time. When you develop a plan, you don't develop the plan in the heat of the moment, you develop it before it happens. So again, the antidote to stonewalling is you've got to physiologically self-soothe. In that break, it's the deep belly breathing. You know, if you've ever done yoga, it's really, you have got to get your heart rate to come back down, and you do that with the deep belly breathing, where you breathe in and your belly and your lungs expand, and then as you breathe out, you really are envisioning like your belly button touching your spine because you're breathing all of that out. And you do that like 4 or 5 times. And you know, I also tell couples in that break, when you're getting your heart rate to come back down, once you've got your heart rate to come back down, you kind of create what's one thing that I need to communicate clearly. And so that's soften startup, that's accepting responsibility. So sometimes it's, I need us to create some compromise, or I need you to listen to what I experienced. You know, it's saying things like that that really help you talk about the incident without getting caught back up in the fight. What I've just described are the 4 horsemen: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. And I've also described the antidotes: soften startup or gentle startup, accepting responsibility for your part in it. The antidote to contempt is, again, 2, creating a culture of appreciation, and also don't make assumptions, ask questions, be able to describe your own feelings. And then the antidote to stonewalling is that you've got to take a break to physiologically self-soothe, to get your heart rate to come back down. So that's the deep belly breathing. And if you want some additional resources or reading, one of the books that Gottman has written, he really talks about the 4 horsemen in most of his books. The 2 books that I recommend, The 7 Principles to Making a Marriage Work, he describes the 4 horsemen and really what the antidotes are and how to put those into practice. And then the other one is What Makes Love Last, How to Build Trust and Avoid Betrayal. And in that book, he also talks about the 4 horsemen. So those are 2 books that I think are excellent resources and guides for couples that, you know, not only do they talk about the 4 horsemen, but they also talk about other really great information if you're going through marital discord or relationship discord. All right, comment below on what you think of the video, or if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can get weekly videos on everything about relationships. Have a great day.